Imagine a city where the gates are bolted shut. Inside, there is opportunity, jobs, and wealth. But outside, millions of Americans are stuck staring at skyrocketing rents and mortgages they can never hope to pay. This chart shows the exact scale of the crisis. Right now, the United States is short roughly 4 million homes. That is a massive physical void in our national housing supply, leaving a huge chunk of the population with nowhere to go. When housing prices spike, it is tempting to blame corporate developer greed or to assume we have simply run out of physical space to build. But the math does not support that. The land is there, and builders are eager to work on it. We didn't forget how to build houses in this country. We made it illegal to build them. To see exactly how this works, we are going to take a single standard apartment building blueprint and try to get it built. We will follow it through the local approval gauntlet, step by step. America's housing shortage functions as a legal barrier. These rules were written to ensure that millions of people remain on the outside looking in. Our blueprint's first task is simple: find a piece of dirt near public transit. But immediately, we run into our first antagonist. Let's call her Lady Single Family. Lady Single Family enforces exclusive single-family zoning. This is a law stating that only one detached house can legally be built on a given lot. Look at this vast stretch of identical homes. By mandating this one housing type, cities legally lock up 70% of available residential land. Because of this rule, our apartment blueprint is legally banned from the vast majority of the city. We have to abandon that prime transit-friendly lot and squeeze into a tiny, fiercely contested sliver of land where apartments are actually allowed. Single-family zoning artificially chokes the supply of buildable land. When developers have to fight over a tiny fraction of the city, the price of that dirt skyrockets before a single brick is even purchased. Now we have our expensive dirt, and we move to the design phase. Enter Duke Height Limit. He enforces local zoning caps that arbitrarily chop the top 3 floors right off our proposed building. Then comes Sir Parking Stall. He enforces mandatory parking minimums, laws that force developers to build massive numbers of parking spaces for every new apartment, completely regardless of whether the future tenants even own cars. Structured underground parking costs between $30,000 and $50,000 per space. This diagram shows how parking requirements dictate building design. A strict 2.25 spaces per unit forces this building to dig a deeply expensive second underground level. To avoid this cost, the developer drops the project from 8 units to 7. On a larger scale, a planned 50-unit building for middle-income renters shrinks into a 20-unit luxury building just to break even on the concrete. Parking and height mandates act as an invisible, regressive tax. They make building middle-class housing mathematically impossible by forcing developers to prioritize car storage over human shelter. Our shrunken, compromised blueprint now faces the final and most lethal stage, submitting for city approval. Here we meet Captain Red Tape and Queen NIMBY, an acronym for Not in My Backyard. Through a process called discretionary review, local governments hold public hearings where existing residents can protest new development. As you can see from these signs, the resistance to new neighbors is organized, intense, and highly effective at stalling progress. Queen NIMBY summons the Delay Brothers, endless community hearings, frequent zoning appeals, and weaponized environmental reviews. These mechanisms trap the project in a maze of paperwork that can drag on for up to 4 years. This introduces a fatal concept called carrying costs. The developer has already taken out a massive loan to buy that expensive dirt. Paying high interest on that loan for 4 years while generating zero income will bankrupt the project. And so the blueprint dies in committee. In real estate, time is literally money. Endless, weaponized bureaucratic delays act as the final executioner of America's housing supply. But the blueprint does not have to die. Across the country, a new coalition of advocates is successfully overturning these restrictive laws. They are rewriting the rules that determine what we are allowed to build. Some cities are adopting by-right permitting. This means that if a building meets basic safety and zoning codes, it is approved automatically. It ends the years of discretionary hearings and removes the ability of the delay brothers to stall a project indefinitely. Others are legalizing accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, and small-scale duplexes. By permitting secondary homes in backyards or converting garages into small apartments, homeowners can add housing density to existing neighborhoods without changing the scale of the street. We are also seeing the elimination of parking minimums. When cities stop forcing developers to build massive garages, land can finally be used to house people instead of storing cars, making middle-market apartment buildings financially viable again. This chart shows what happens when these reforms take hold over a 10-year timeline. We will not see housing prices crash 50% by next Tuesday. Instead, we stabilize rent growth. By flattening that curve, millions of households can finally afford the typical American home, steadily closing that 4 million home gap. The United States has the physical space, the financial capital, and the eager builders required to end the housing shortage. We simply need the political courage to stop making it illegal to build homes.